this demonstration. Is Donald Trump Debo tactics legal? Also, what country is going to knock Donald Trump out on Friday? Salute to the chat. Salute to the replay gang. Salute to all of my moderators. I see the chat. I will entertain the chat. Just give me a minute. If you got a comment or a question that you need my immediate attention, just grab a super chat. All right. Now, Trump has been busy. All right. Now he has issued a threat to Cuba. We know he didn't knocked off the president from Venezuela. Now he's going after Cuba. Trump is not playing. So let me just get y'all to the latest that's coming out with Trump and these Debo tactics. For all y'all that don't know what is Debo tactics, watch the movie Friday. And in the movie Friday, Debo was the neighborhood bully who was bullying pretty much Craig, Smokey, Red, and any and everybody else that got in his way. So let's tap into Trump going after Cuba.
Trump is giving Cuba an ultimatum. In a social media post, Mr. Trump said Cuba has long lived off Venezuelan oil and money. He wrote, quote, "There'll be no more oil or money going to Cuba, zero." He also urged the country to make a deal with the U.S., but it wasn't clear what he was looking to get from Havana. Cuba's president rebuffed Trump's threats, saying Cuba is ready to defend itself. The Trump administration, meanwhile, is ramping up its efforts to get U.S. oil companies back into Venezuela. President Trump signed an executive order to protect Venezuelan oil revenue. The White House made that announcement Friday after hosting a meeting with oil industry executives. And yesterday, Trump told reporters on Air Force One that he will guarantee safety for the companies.
Well, we're going to have guarantees that they're going to be safe, that there's going to be no problem, and there won't be. There's not going to be a problem. They had problems in the past because they didn't have Trump as a president. They had stupid people.
Rebecca Patterson is a senior fellow at the Council on Foreign Relations and joins us now to discuss what this all really means. Rebecca, good morning and welcome. Most people may not realize that Venezuela's oil is actually very difficult to refine, making it expensive to produce. So what is the short-term benefit for the U.S. and how long would it really take to ramp up production?
Good morning, and thanks for having me. I think the hope here is that if the U.S. and Venezuela can work together in the short term, you can lift the blockade on sanctioned tankers that hold oil that then could come to the United States, be refined and sold. And you could also create a situation where Chevron, which is operating in Venezuela right now, could increase production. At the margin, this might help reduce oil prices. The benefit to the consumer is pretty obvious. You can pay less at the gas pump. It's not going to be one for one, but marginally, and maybe over time it helps reduce inflation, which allows the Fed to cut rates more. That's the hope. And it's possible we can see some of that in the next few months. But there are some huge challenges with this. One, the infrastructure in Venezuela around the oil industry is decimated. These are multi-billion-dollar, many-year investments that U.S. firms would have to make if they decide to go back into Venezuela. President Trump said he can guarantee security. I'm not sure how you guarantee that without U.S. boots on the ground, which I'm not sure U.S. taxpayers and voters would be excited about. So security and certainty of policy in the government of Venezuela is a big question. The other question is price. Oil is a funny thing. If the price gets too low, it's good for consumers, but it's terrible for producers. They don't make a profit anymore. And so if we get enough supply, you could actually create a new problem by making oil less profitable for U.S. oil companies. So there's question marks around how quickly and whether or not this is going to be very successful for both consumers and producers.
Now, let me just stop it right here, y'all. Now, let's just cut to the meat and potatoes, all right? We was wondering what in the hell is Trump going after Venezuela? Right? Now, you know how they do it. They got to dress it up and put on that Superman cape like they are the superheroes of the world. They try to dress it up. What was it? Because I done this demonstration, I think last week, remember? And it was allegedly that the president, Nicholas, was wrapped up in a drug operation, right? That's what they put out there. See, they famous. They famous for putting out the lies to get your mind. And then as soon as you forget about it, then they come out with the actual truth. So it was all about oil. And as long as I've been around, and I've been around since the 70s, everything that has to do with the president in the United States of America going into other countries, it's always about oil. Don't let them fool you, y'all. Now, I'm experiencing audio difficulties. Let me know if y'all can hear me. Drop a 1. Drop a 1 and let me know if y'all can hear me. Salute to the chat. Drop a 2. Let me come out of it. So let's just tap back, y'all. I'm assuming that oil.
Yeah, and the key piece there seems to be there is a major price to getting investment and improving the refinery capacity. How much does that compare to whatever would be gained? I want to play for you some of what the Energy Secretary said on Face the Nation yesterday.
In the long run, what will happen with Venezuelan oil resources? Yeah, of course, quite likely you'll see American companies expanded presence there. That's going to be up to American businesses. That's certainly a very real possibility.
Now, I believe Chevron is the only company, U.S. Oil company, still in Venezuela, but these companies would help Venezuela's oil sector. How would you see that playing out?
Sure. Well, I don't think they're going to do it out of the kindness of their hearts. I think if U.S. companies are going back to Venezuela, they would think that they can get a good return on the investment there, which is sizable and long-term, and they would be sure that you're not going to have another repeat of 1976 or 2007 when foreign oil companies, including American companies, in the 70s were nationalized and in 2007 were forced, if they wanted to stay in the country, into minority stake joint ventures with local companies. So Venezuela owes several U.S. oil companies billions of dollars. They don't want that to happen again. And so it's very reasonable, I think, that they're being very cautious about jumping on this opportunity that the president has offered them.
Yeah, and you folks have written a great article about all of this. Folks should head online to check it out. Rebecca Patterson, thanks for being with us this morning.
Now, it don't take a rocket scientist to figure this stuff out, y'all. And I see the chat. It don't take a rocket scientist to figure this stuff out. Now, anytime, listen, y'all. All we got to do is start with the history of this country. That tells you everything that you need to know about this country. All right? The history of the United States of America that we know of was built off of kidnapping, red rumming, lies, deceit, arson, because they looted the villages, and many, many more. So now if the things change, and let me backtrack. So after the country got established and after the country was built, then it was continued running off of discrimination. And I got to throw in there slavery, right? Chatto. But then to keep it running, it was built off of discrimination. Now we fast forward to today's time, and we still see all of the things that built this country. We still see it going on today. First of all, we got our own problems in this country. What do we look like being in another country, worrying about the welfare and worrying about the citizens of that country? Just stay right there, because you're going to have people that still don't get it. The majority of the American people are finally getting it. I think 9 out of 10 Americans get it. We know what it is. And I got news for y'all. It didn't start with Trump, even though Trump is the man under the microscope now. But I don't want y'all to get wrapped up in Trump to where as though y'all can't see that Trump isn't and Trump won't be the first president. He's not the only president. But all this is nothing but a scheme, right? For the American elites. I gotta say it. To control. Let me come to Trump, y'all. Hold up. I'll be so glad when my studio that I'm working on is finally built, because I won't have to go through the things that I'm going through.
President Trump issued a warning to Cuba, a close ally of Venezuela, that it is now cut off from Venezuelan oil shipments. He said on Truth Social, quote, Cuba lived for many years on large amounts of oil and money from Venezuela. In return, Cuba provided security services for the last 2 Venezuelan dictators, but not anymore. There will be no more oil or money going to Cuba, zero. I strongly suggest they make a deal before it is too late. The president of Cuba, Miguel Diaz-Canel, took to X to push back on the administration, writing in part, quote, Cuba is a free, independent, and sovereign nation. No one dictates what we do. CBS News Pentagon reporter and producer Eleanor Watson joins me now. Where do things stand currently in the U.S.-Cuba relationship and the Cuba-Venezuela relationship?
Well, Lindsay, Cuba, as you mentioned, has countered President Trump's threat, saying it will import fuel from wherever it wants, and Venezuela is the largest supplier of oil to Cuba. It's unclear what kind of deal President Trump is proposing here, but it appears to be part of the larger strategy we've seen recently of the Trump administration pulling other countries in the Western Hemisphere more under the U.S. influence. Following the raid on Maduro in Venezuela, the U.S. has used a quarantine on oil tankers, oil the most crucial resource to Venezuela, as a way to coerce the current leaders there to acquiesce to U.S. demands. And now it seems that threat is spreading to Cuba, which the president's cabinet, Secretary Rubio in particular, has made no secret the expectation that the Cuban regime could be in danger of falling.
Now let me come to y'all, because I see some comments in the chat. SP says, Kennedy did it in 1991, and I despise him too. Leslie says, that's how they got 400 years plus from slavery and Jim Crow laws. SP says, like the fools that we are. I see you, Galatians. Galatians says, facts. SP says, and oil and steel. So now so let me let this finish right now, because I want to go to the second part of as far as what country is going to knock America. I can't even say Trump, because when they come for Trump, they're coming for the American people. I see you, Miss Lady T. So what country is going to knock America out on Friday? We're gonna chop that up. Let me let this finish playing.
President Trump says that U.S. oil companies will rebuild Venezuela's energy sector with U.S. security guarantees. Realistically, what will this look like?
Yeah, so Venezuela is home to the largest known oil reserves in the world, but it's going to take years of repairs and potentially billions in investment before there are significant benefits from that supply to U.S. and Venezuelan citizens. The president, in encouraging investment from these firms who would have to spend that money and time, has said that there will be security guarantees. He said that in a meeting on Friday with them, but when asked afterwards by a reporter, he was kind of wishy-washy in what the makeup of those security guarantees would be, saying in part it'd be the private firms providing their own security in consultation with the Venezuelans. What he did not mention in at least that answer was the potential for U.S. boots on the ground.
What more should we know about actions against ISIS in Syria?
Yeah, over the weekend was the second wave of retaliatory strikes, large-scale strikes against ISIS targets in retaliation for the killing of 2 Iowa National Guardsmen and a civilian interpreter last month. On Saturday, as a part of Operation Hawkeye strike. The U.S. using fighter jets and attack helicopters hit more than 35 targets, bringing the total in the 2 waves of strikes to more than 100 ISIS targets hit.
Wow. Wow. So, what country is going to knock America out on a Friday? Is it going to be China? That's the main country that most Americans know. You got some Americans that say, oh, Shank, I ain't worrying about China. China can't do nothing with the United States of America. Once again, when Debo got knocked out, in a million years, he ain't imagined Craig knocking him out. Somebody, some country, and it may be a joint effort, whereas though it may not be one country, it may be a couple countries that come together that's going to knock America off their ass. This is 30% of what Trump does that I disagree. I disagree with going in, making these countries bow down to us and taking what's theirs. That belongs to them. We're no better than Venezuela. We're no better than Cuba. We're no better than Mexico. What is this that everybody around the world have to bow down to the United States of America? That's not a good look, is what I'm trying to say. It's not. I want to grab something else from Trump. So for those that, it has been in my DM, I do disagree with this. If where are some Trump supporters? Let me know, how do y'all feel? If you are a Trump supporter, if you're on the replay gang or if you're watching this live, what is the purpose? What is the purpose of taking Venezuela? What is the purpose of going after Cuba? Is there any Trump supporters that would like to answer that question for me? Because maybe I'm missing something. Just because I disagree with it don't mean that it's right. So maybe I'm missing something. So can I get a Trump supporter? I see you, Sagitt. Sagitt says he been feeling like some superhero, superhuman or something. Is it any Trump supporter that can tell me, that can justify why Trump is going after these countries? More oil? Galatians says power. That's the only thing that I could think of. He want a strong arm. He want power. He want to walk around with his chest on swole. He want everybody around the world to know that Donald Trump is the man. So I got something that I want to go to, y'all. Got something that I want to go to.
I wanted the word cuppa as in cup of tea. I thought it would be great to mix with hug. When I saw the domain was...
President Trump declaring a national emergency.
Ms. Lady T says, he better leave China and Russia alone. Facts. Sagitt says, I honestly don't know why he invaded Venezuela. Galatians says, exactly, Miss Lady T. Sagitt says, it doesn't make sense. Esvar says, voting machines. It just don't make sense. I mean, look, everybody knows by now that Trump, you don't play with him. Look, he established that. If it's nothing else that he established, don't mess with me. I get what I want. But it's like a kid going in the candy store, and you buy the kid something, but then the kid want more and more and more and more. As Var says, voting machines. Leslie says, USA, leave these folks alone. And it's just like I said, every day, y'all, every day is something new with Trump.
Emergency to guard Venezuelan oil revenue from any lawsuits or creditors. And after meeting with energy executives at the White House, the administration is hoping to get oil giants to invest $100 billion to help rebuild Venezuela's infrastructure. But the reception might not be as warm as Trump had hoped. Exxon is calling the country, quote, uninvestable, but the White House says they'll come around.
We had Chevron, Shell, Repsol, Eni, four of the biggest oil companies in the world saying we will immediately start ramping up our investments and growing our production. I've got a crew of American wildcatters that said we'll go down this week and start checking things out. We're ready to go.
Probably be inclined to keep Exxon out. I didn't like their response, where they're playing too cute.
This dude.
And the president is working to...
This dude. You gotta laugh at this dude, man. I didn't like their response. They're playing too cute. Like, man, this dude right here. Galatians says Trump is a clown. He ain't gonna be satisfied until somebody tries to take him out again. Leslie says Trump is like a small-minded child. SP says it's the same they've done in Afghanistan and everywhere else. And once again, this is part of that 30% when it comes to Trump that I disagree with. I disagree with this. I really disagree with it.
Put pressure on another Latin American communist stronghold, Cuba, cutting off all oil and money going into the country. I want to hit both those points, Lou and Jackie. I know with your oil expertise, I want your thoughts as well. ExxonMobil, we can talk about oil companies going into Venezuela. Let's talk about that first, and then let's get to maybe the indirect way of getting to Cuba.
Yeah, can anyone blame them for being reluctant? I mean, Exxon and Conoco especially, they lost billions of dollars the last two times that they were involved with Venezuelan oil exploration. I think the key thing you have to remember here, these companies are spending about $15 to $20 billion a year on their own for domestic and international production. What the president's asking them to do is invest that much or more in Venezuela. So
yeah,
this
but
is not
you
like,
get revenue, you get profits,
you might get
good
revenue, you might get profits.
stuff.
Here's the key, though. The Venezuelan oil is not an easy oil to refine. We are talking about our refiners being able to handle this heavy sour crude. It's geared towards Canadian heavy sands oil, right? It's not geared towards Venezuelan. Venezuelan is very different. It has a high sulfur content. It's almost like pavement. Yeah, it's great for diesel, but you have to gear the refiners to handle that. They're processing about 5 million barrels a day of Canadian heavy oil sands oil. This heavy sour, it's not the same. There's chemical differences. So it's not an easy switch. So I think this is key. No guarantee that you're going to get the money. We've lost money here before, so why wouldn't you be reluctant as a super major to put more money to work? You've got to secure that I'm going to get a return on my investment. And ironically, at $55, $60 a barrel, you're not getting a good return on your investment.
But Jackie, there's a difference between not being guaranteed a return and being reluctant and hesitant versus saying uninvestable, right? Where do you come down on those?
Yes. I think uninvestable is very, very extreme to the point that you're making. I hear you on the refinery challenges. That's probably one of our biggest challenges here at home anyway, is that we don't even have enough refining capacity to handle our own oil, let alone trying to refine a different level and capacity of crude, if you want to call it that. So I think that's an issue, but that doesn't mean that these aren't challenges that can be overcome.
Let's just stop right there. Now, whether they are challenges that can be overcome or not, who got time for all of this? You know what I mean? See, this is what I'm saying. It's like you got to be to work. You got to be to work at 6 a.m., right? You get up at 5 a.m. and you're trying to do all these. Let me backtrack because I went out for a second. It's like you got to get up. You got to be to work at 6, right? You get up at 5. And you're trying to do all these things within an hour's time. Keep in mind, you got to get dressed. You got to shower. You got to brush your teeth. You know what I mean? You got to eat some kind of breakfast, even if it ain't nothing but a fruit or whatever it may be. You know, it's like, then you know you got to make your bed up. Let's talk about the in-house things that you got to do before you leave out for work. You got to make your bed up. You know, you got to open up your Venetian blinds. You got to feed the pet, whatever pet you got. You might got to walk your dog. Y'all get the point that I'm stressing. Why put all of this on your plate? Then you got to think about the American people, because I hope y'all know this ain't going to benefit the American people. Let me just stop it right there. It's not like we, the American people, are going to benefit.
And that this oil isn't worth something. It's worth a lot. You know, Brian, you brought up this idea that it's on the global stage. The reason oil prices didn't really significantly spike because of this is because we're very well supplied here at home in the United States, and through other avenues as well. But, you know, money is money and oil is oil. And I just think that if you were a company being skeptical about this, I understand that. But if you were going to thumb your nose up at the prospect while your competitors were going there to do work there, you'll be last in the game.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think absolutely totally agree with you. In the long term, there's a valid reason to be there. In the short term, it's just not as compelling. So I think long term, the president's doing the right thing. He's taking the steps to compel and incentivize these companies to invest.
My biggest fear is what happens with this transition and how long does it take? Because if the Democrats win the White House in the next election, then if you're an energy company and all of a sudden you went to set up shop in Venezuela, you could have a serious problem.
Yeah, you get a reverse Cardano on that.
And 3 years isn't that far off.
No.
It's not in $100 billion investment world. It's pretty lickety split. Brian, wanted to come to you on this because we've been talking about sort of the geopolitical issues in the region. Mm-hmm. And this was never just about Venezuelan oil. This was about who's in bed with Venezuela. Iran, China, Russia.
The big bed.
Oh, and then we've a
very big bed.
Our little neighbor Cuba over there.
You got all these people. You get where I'm coming from? All these people that's in bed. Like she said, it's a big bed. Then you got all these people that you got to maintain. You got to watch your back on. Look, man. And it don't take a rocket scientist to figure this out. We, as the American corporation, or we as the American country, whatever it is y'all choose to call, we have been in so much sugar, honey, and iced tea. It never fails. Why do we have to? I'm gonna use the political phrase. Why do we have to be the police of the world? Where is the UN? Can anybody explain to me why hasn't the United Nations stepped in? Look, I know some things, but I just don't know why the UN. Remember when Bush, and this is why I said it don't start and it don't end with Trump. This has been going on. Remember when the son, Bush, when he went and got Saddam Hussein, the UN even told him, don't go over there. But Bush still sent the troops over there. So it's the same way today. Let me come to my comment. SP says, and then lost the war. SP says, sorry, I think I was behind in the chat. Make sure y'all double tap the screen, y'all. I got 200 people watching and only 16 likes. And I know the reason why, because many of y'all don't know how to hit the like button. Many of y'all are looking for a like button. So just double tap the screen. Go 1, 2. And it'll allow you to like this demonstration.
Yes. Dependent on Venezuela oil, yes. And if we start to cut them off, do we use oil as a way to help promote democracy, and we've talked about pro-democracy protests on the ground in other regions of the world. How do you think about that?
Well, I do think that's how the president's thinking about it. Cuba gave Venezuela intelligence services, which failed abysmally when we took Maduro. Venezuela gives Cuba oil. President says we're not going to do that anymore. I don't think you have to go for democracy in Cuba, but I do think you can show the world you're serious about bad actors when you use oil as a way to punish those who are bad actors. I don't blame Exxon for not wanting to go into Venezuela. I think Exxon's negotiating here. They've got a lot of leverage. Anybody with leverage is going to negotiate. They're saying if we go back, imagine you get dumped twice by a girlfriend, and both times she steals all your stuff after she dumps you.
Right.
No, totally hypothetical.
Right.
That saying,
Fool me once, shame on you.
So Exxon's been fooled a couple times. So that's fine. Because how many people were around that table? There were like 20 people around that table. There was a lot of guys there who are not at Exxon's level, but who are hungry and they may want to take
Can I
a risk.
ask a question though?
Yes.
What happens in the situation with Cuba? Because I saw a chart this morning that I wasn't necessarily expecting to be the case, which is that some of the oil that Cuba gets is from Venezuela, but some of it is from Russia and some of it is from Mexico. What if Russia ups the ante to supply them in the wake of this?
Can I just get in there? Because I covered the region for 12 years. I was in Cuba shortly after the Soviet Union died. And that was a crisis because overnight they lost 60% of their GDP. That's how much the old Soviet Union was giving them in terms of oil. And a lot of the oil that they were given wasn't just for domestic use. They would sell it on the open market. So it was essentially a gift from the Soviet Union because for the Soviet Union, it was a great listening base for the United States. Of course, at one point, it was also a place for their missiles. That ended with the Cuban Missile Crisis. But when I was there, it was about 93 or so when they really were suffering terribly. Had it not been for the presence of Fidel Castro, who died about 15 years after that, the country the Communist Party probably would have lost at that point. That's how bad it got. Castro was very clever. What he did was he opened up the country to private enterprise, and it began to take off like wildfire. The Cubans, all you have to do is go to Miami and see how good Cubans are at entrepreneurship. They're brilliant at it, and they still have the fervor. It's not unlike Iran. You and I, Jackie, have talked about this before. The Iranians are very good at starting businesses as well. It was happening in Cuba, but because Fidel allowed just enough private enterprise to take off to keep the economy going, to keep the economy alive, the Communist Party survived, and they continued to hold on to power.
Now, let's just stay right there. Let's shout out to the Cuban people. As my man stated, the Cuban people are very good at being entrepreneurs. So let's tap into the Cubans, And see, for me, this is why I keep an open mind, and this is why I enjoy other people's perspectives, because I'm able to learn. Now, y'all let me know. Let's get to the meat and potatoes. Is Donald Trump's tactics, is it legal? Let's start there. Drop a 1 if what Donald Trump is doing is legal. Drop a 2 if it's illegal. I'm surprised I don't have no Trump supporters. I got 260 people watching and not one Trump supporter. Angela dropped a 2. Angela says it's illegal. SP dropped a 2. Skate Committee, I see you, Skate Committee. Smurf, what? I don't got no Trump supporters? Okay, House of Squawk dropped the 1. Okay. Explain to us, House of Squawk, and anybody else that thinks it's legal. Explain to us why it's legal. Help us better understand. Because like I said, 70% of the things that Trump does, I agree. 30% I disagree. And this is part of the 30% that I disagree. I just don't see, because I do believe. I'll wait before I open up my mouth. Let me wait. But I was always under the impression that's why the UN, the United Nations, was established. Because if there's any issues in any country, that's what the UN is there for. The UN, the United Nations, is the police of the world. I could be wrong. And if I'm wrong, I can accept that. Drop a 3 if y'all thought what I thought. Drop a 4 if I'm wrong. So drop a 3 if the United Nations was established to be the police of the world. Drop a 4 if that's not why the United Nations was established. Where are my Trump supporters? Come on, Trump supporters. Come on, y'all. It's okay. This is how we learn. This is how we learn. By sharing information and respecting other people's perspectives. I can't support this. I can't, y'all. I can't. You know what I mean? Because now it would be one thing if it was to benefit the American people. Galatians says not supporting Trump's foolishness. And I can't support this. So I'm with you, Galatians. Dana J, somebody go get Dana J for me. Stephanie says you were right, Shank. Thank you, Stephanie. Hey, anytime my Rock Squad member Stephanie is agreeing with me, then I know I'm right. Appreciate that, Stephanie. Dana J, where you at, brother? Talk to me, Dana J. What's going on, Dana J? Talk to me, Dana J. Stephanie says the military is already turning on him. Yeah, because they know. They know. Yo, you putting us, you get ready to get us in some shit.
Fidel is long gone. The current leader's a jerk. He's kind of like Maduro in Venezuela. The people...
Galatians says, we love Dana J, but he got to come get some input on this bullshit. Come on, Dana J. Come on, we love you, Dana J. You know, we the dream team now. But Dana J, you got to talk to us about this bullshit. And you know, Dana J, 70% of Trump I do agree with. But then there's 30% that I disagree. And this bullshit, I disagree.
Are ready for a change. I think, and of course, it's not only Nicaragua. It's not only Cuba. It's also Nicaragua, and there are a couple of other socialist countries that rely on Venezuelan oil. So it could be a cascading effect.
Wow.
That we would see where the entire Western Hemisphere, after Argentina, Brazil is a big exception, but basically all of the Western Hemisphere could be devoted to capitalism except New York City. Which is the irony of irony.
Is I'm fleeing to Venezuela to flee communism in New York City. Okay, so let's talk about the Western Hemisphere, Lou. A lot of people, 2 weeks ago in the Maduro news, relearned our history lessons with the Monroe Doctrine and calling it the Donroe Doctrine, and basically saying if it's in our backyard, it is our moral imperative to just watch our backs, right? And if that means capitalism, so be it. The Western Hemisphere is ours. China, stay out of it. Does that work? Do you buy that?
I do buy it because if not America, then who? Someone else is going to do it. Then China, then Russia. If the president sits and is just still and doesn't do anything, everyone else, our adversaries, are very active. So I think you need to do that. I think you're seeing it reshuffle and make every foreign adversary reconsider what their plans might be. China, what are you thinking about Taiwan necessarily, right?
All right. Okay. And I get that. So my man feels like somebody gonna get it. Right? Better us than China. Now, once again, here's my thing. Our shit ain't squeaky clean. if we didn't have half of the problems that we have in this country, then I would probably be like, all right, go get that. You know what I mean? It's like a softball team. It's like a football team. Our team ain't all the way solid. We worrying about what they got going on over there. We all in their business. But our team ain't all the way solid. So for me, that's why I just can't get with it, because we have so many problems in this country. What problems are you talking about, Shank? All right, let's just start with the veterans. We could just start right there. The veterans. Do y'all realize how the veterans, the ones that are putting their life on the line for presidents like Donald Trump, the veterans of the United States of America get treated like shit? We could just stay right there. What about our health workers? What about the whole health industry in this country? That's all I'm saying. What about the teachers being underpaid? Angela says, amen. Adrian says, how stupid are you exactly? Now, I don't know if that was for Shankrock or for Trump. I don't know.
We saw over this weekend, we thought maybe there was going to be an invasion in Iran, right? To help usher that in. I mean, there was rumors of that as well.
Stay tuned.
Yeah, stay tuned. Agree. Like preparations are being made. So I think the Dunroe Doctrine absolutely is necessary. I don't want to boil this whole invasion into to get Maduro down to oil like everyone wants to. I think there's a propensity to simplify and say it's always about one thing. It was about oil, or was it about rare earths? Or
it's about oil. I mean, come on, man. You can't make this ish up. You can't. Adrian says it's for you, you ignorant twat. I assume that Adrian is trolling me. If you're not trolling me, Adrian, please explain to me how stupid I am. Let's talk. But you cannot dress this up about it being about anything else. It's all about the oil. Who don't know that? It's always been about the oil. Angela says it's all about what greed think about. It's right there before us. Come on. Come on, Adrian.
or was it about diplomacy and national security? It's how about all of the above? I mean, we talked about this last week. I think the president is, for the first time for a U.S. president in a long time, thinking like the Chinese in decades and centuries, not just in midterms and presidential elections.
And the key is, who would you rather have get involved in Venezuelan oil? The United States, which is because of the fact that we share the same hemisphere with Venezuela, we're a short plane trip away from Venezuela. Would you rather have the Chinese go halfway around the world and control Venezuelan oil, or us?
There you go, right there. Now, look, I might not be the sharpest tool in the toolbox. I might not be the brightest crayon in the crayon box. But my man just said it. Who would you rather have controlling it? So let's just stay there. And let's not try to dress it up and flip-flop it and come with all these other different things. It's about the oil. Who would you rather have controlling this oil? China or the United States of America? I gotta get Trump, yo. I wanna get this clip of Trump. Give me a minute, everybody. Give me a minute. I wanna get this clip of Trump. SP says, whatever happened to making deals rather than forcing countries with small troops? Facts. That's facts.
done that's not been done.
I think I got it.
Done in the past, and they had a good chance at it. Brought someone in that totally took it down, as everybody knows here, and that was Chavez, and we know what happened to him finally. But you know that ruined the industry in Venezuela, and all of us know how that happened, ended very well, very wrongly. So anyway, we're glad to see what's happened here, and look forward for the opportunity for a lot of people in this room, but also for America and the country itself.
Are you going to be involved in going in? Because, you know, he's in North Dakota and he's in Oklahoma and some incredible places. It's a little bit different, but there's no doubt about you won't have to worry about the straw too much here. You can just go at it. Are you going to be one of the participants?
Well, certainly, you know, I'm an oil finder, like you said, you know, Barry Spitzer, you know, told that story.
The coach.
And he's kind of exaggerated a little bit. It doesn't come out there quite that easily usually, but anyway, great story. I love it. But I love Barry.
Barry's the one that told me this.
Yeah, he's a champion, you know, in a lot of ways. So love that story. Certainly, it excites me as an explorationist. You know, everybody has that in their blood, and you know, it is a very exciting country and a lot of reserves. And so it's got its challenges, and the industry knows how to handle that. And like Darren said, you know, you go in with your eyes open and do the best you can with it.
Everybody is talking about the challenges of going into Cuba. And you know what I mean? Double tap that screen, y'all. We got 300 watching with only 32 likes. Double tap the screen, get my likes up to help push this out in the algorithm. Let's get me up to 100 likes. Double tap the screen to get my likes up to help push this out in the algorithm. But it's going to be a challenge going into Cuba, with going into any country. And then even if you do succeed, you got to worry about the challenges, because now, like they said, now you're in bid with all these other countries. Who wants to be involved in all that shit? Like, damn. United States of America is in the bid with everybody. We all over the place. And what I always say, while we are all over the place, the United States of America is living up to the prostitute that Revelations talk about. Revelations talk about that prostitute, and it's none other than the United States of America. So while the United States of America ass is wide open, I mean, the United States ass is just up in the air, butt cheeks spread. And y'all know what happens when the ass is up in the air and the butt cheeks is spread wide open. If you don't know, you better ask somebody. But right now, that's how it's looking for the prostitute of the world called America. Just butt cheeks just spread wide open. Just how I like it. Yeah.
Team, you got it. So
well, you're going to have something that they never had really here is tremendous security. You're going to be very secure, very safe, physically safe, in addition to financially safe. So it's good to see you, Harold. Thank you very much. Does anybody have anything to say before we get to the press? Well, Cuba's in bad shape. Cuba relied on Venezuela for oil and for money. And nobody really knows what's going to happen with Cuba. They're doing very poorly. They're really third world all the way. And we have a lot of great Cuban Americans. And I would say Marco fits very solidly into that category. And I might ask you to say a few words about, we were discussing it before, Cuba is a very different, they don't have energy, they don't have oil, but they would live off of the oil from Venezuela. And what they do have is very strong people.
Say it again, Angela. Aren't we in bad shape? You know, see, this is the thing that get me. Why do we always call other people's countries, oh, they in bad shape over there. Have you checked the last time with the people of the United States of America and the shape that we are in? Appreciate that, Angela.
And very powerful people militarily, and they would protect the people running Venezuela, and they would take in a lot of money from Venezuela. Now they don't have that. They won't be taking in any money. So, Marco, what do you think?
Well, I mean, the fundamental problem in Cuba is that it's run by incompetent people that don't know what an economy looks like, much less a functioning one. They've made a choice, and that is they would rather...
Did he just say what I think he said? Incompetent people. Wow, man. Wow. If this isn't a narcissist at its finest, how dare you call other people incompetent, whereas though, oh, they can't do this, oh, they can't do that. Man, y'all double tap my screen and get them likes up, y'all. You got to get them likes up to push this out in the algorithm. This is how YouTube works. Double tap the screen, y'all. 300 and no, we got 288 watching with only 38 likes. Double tap my screen, y'all.
They have political control over the people and they would have an economy that functions. And they've gotten away with it for 60-something years because they've had donors, the Soviet Union, and now most recently Venezuela. But that's now gone. So the people in control in Cuba have a choice to make. They can either have a real country with a real economy where their people can prosper, or they can continue with their failing dictatorship that's going to lead to systemic and societal collapse. So it's a very stark and dramatic choice, and it's one we hope to make the right one. We don't have an interest in a destabilized Cuba, but that would be their fault because they refuse to allow the people of Cuba to have either economic or political freedom for that matter.
And you have a lot of people in this country that want to go back to Cuba and help Cuba. A lot of people have left, they came in penniless, they didn't have anything, and they become very rich people in our country, and they want to very much go back and help Cuba. So that's something that Cuba has that a lot of other places don't have. Peter?
President Trump, thank you. I do want to ask you about Minnesota, but first, just more on topic. President Zelensky said that he was watching with the rest of the world as you made this order to go and capture Nicolas Maduro. And he said, if that's how it works with dictators, then the United States knows what to do next. Sounds like he wants you to go and capture Vladimir Putin. Would you ever order a mission to go and capture Vladimir Putin?
Well, I don't think it's going to be necessary. I think we're going to have I've always had a great relationship with him. I'm very disappointed. I settled 8 wars. I thought this would be in the middle of the pack or maybe one of the easier ones. And I don't know if you know, Peter, the last month, they lost 31,000 people, many of them Russian soldiers, and the Russian economy is doing poorly. I think we're going to end up getting it settled. I wish we could have done it quicker because a lot of people are dying, and mostly soldiers. They get hit in Kiev and they get hit a little bit here and there, and people are dying there too. But largely it's the soldier population. When you have 30,000, 31,000 soldiers dying in a period of a month, 27,000 the month before, 26,000 the month before that, that's bad stuff. So as you know, President Biden gave $350 billion to Ukraine to fight, and we would never get that back, although I did make a rare earth deal to get it back, so we will be getting it back, but shouldn't have done that. It was a bad thing to do. I will say that right now, because I was able to get NATO to up GDP from 2% to 5%, NATO's got a lot of money, and they're paying for everything. We're not losing any money. We're making a lot of money, I guess, if you think of it, because we're selling our military equipment. They're probably giving it to Ukraine, but we're selling them to NATO military equipment. We're getting full price and all of that, but that's not a big deal to me. What is a big deal is stopping a war where 30,000 people are being killed every single month.
And on Minnesota, the vice president yesterday suggested that Renee Good, who was killed by this ICE officer, was part of a broad left-wing network. What has your team told you about this broad left-wing network?
Now, and let me just say this, y'all. Now, first, let me come to my chat. I see you, TT. I see you, Shay C. I see y'all. Angela says, well, the way our U.S. is acting, who blames them? As P says, he doesn't think it will be necessary. Angel says, he gets on my nerves, like really bad, shaking my head. Angela says, we waste money more than we give. I see you, TT. SP says, true, Angela. Now, here's my thing, y'all. Here's my thing. First, I do want to send my condolences to the family of the lady that lost her life in Minneapolis by that ICE agent. Now, whether it was legal or not, and we got to remember, slavery was once legal. So just because something is legal, that doesn't make it morally right. That doesn't make it justify just because it's legal. Now, the ICE agent, he could have just let her ride on by, and all he could have done was shot out her tires. And when he shot out the tires, the car would have came to a stop. Yes or no? Yes or no? For me, I can't accept that. You know, I can't accept that. Well, she ain't had no business being in the street. It's a lot of things. We can look at Trump. Trump has done some things. See, this is the 30% when it comes to Trump that I disagree with. You know, Trump had 34 felonies. Yes or no? And ain't spent not one day in jail. 34 felonies. With 34 felonies, who do y'all know with 34 felonies? Who do y'all know with one felony that can be the president of the United States of America? See, this is that 30% that I talk about, y'all. Shot that woman like that woman was just like an animal. You know, it was a better way that that ICE agent could have handled it. Like I said, let her ride off. Shoot out her tires. Let me grab some comments real quick, then we're going to move on. SP says he didn't need to pile anything at all. Angela says, who's not scared of even being confronted by ICE now? Facts. Shay says, why are they allowed to jump on or stand in front of people's vehicle and then use, I was in fear of my life? Facts. TT says, I don't know why her round here messing with them folks like that. So here's my thing for everybody when it comes to the protesting and when it comes to, you know, approaching these ICE agents. Look, y'all, we feel a certain way, and that's true. But we got to keep in mind, y'all, these are agents that have the green light to take you and my life. So use caution. Please do not confront these agents. Do not confront these ICE agents. Get out the way. All right?
Who is in charge of it? Who's part of it? What's it called?
Well, I haven't seen the vice president's statement, but he's generally very accurate. I hate to say, I watched that yesterday, and there were a lot of different forms to it. But there was a woman screaming, "Shame, shame, shame, shame." She was a agitator, probably a paid agitator, but in my opinion, she was an agitator, a very high-level agitator, so professional. She wouldn't stop screaming. I said, this isn't a normal situation. This is a professional troublemaker, because you heard it and I had it. Now, I will say this, the news sort of turned her down, turned her off, because you're trying to watch. She was so loud and so crazy.
Let me slide in. Appreciate this super sticker, TT. She didn't deserve to lose her life. I don't care gender. I don't care race. I don't care religion. I don't care political view. That lady did not deserve to lose her life. It's just no way.
And just not normal. When somebody sees something like that, they don't go screaming and the same words. So I guess you could say professional, but I didn't think she did a very good job. You have agitators, and we will always be protecting ICE, and we're always going to be protecting our Border Patrol and our law enforcement. Yeah.
Mr. President, in your conversations with these oil executives today, did you provide any security guarantees so that they can do their work safely in Venezuela. And separately, Mr. President,
they will have those guarantees, yes.
And secondly, Mr. President, I'm curious in terms of the future of Venezuela. Do you see Venezuela, now led by Delcy Rodriguez, as an ally of the U.S.? Is that the way that you view that country
Well,
right now?
now they seem to be an ally, and I think it'll continue to be an ally. And we don't want to have Russia there. We don't want to have China there. And by the way, we don't want Russia or China going to Greenland, which if we don't take Greenland, you're going to have Russia or China as your next door neighbor. That's not going to happen.
And that's what it's all about. It's all about power. Once again, if half of our issues in this country was taken care of, then I probably would be like, go get that country. Yeah, get that country over there. Those people over there needs our help. But as Americans, we gotta get out of the mind frame of believing that we holds the answer to everybody's problem around the world. Can you imagine if the other countries around the world zoomed in on our issues? Just imagine if they zoomed in and if they felt the same way that America feels about solving everybody's problems around the world except our own. Can you imagine how many countries would be in our backyard? I mean, come on now. Can you imagine the many troops that would be in our cities? So I'm tired of this propaganda of these other countries, incompetent. I hope I pronounced that right. But I'm tired of this propaganda that these other countries can't take care of their country. Shay says he can't even fix our problems and left us to the wolves. SP says, no one, Angela, not even our own troops after a while. Angela says, yes, we are not going to have no one support us. Stephanie says, Trump is a very empty man. I don't care what no one say. And this is why this is 30%. I disagree with it wholeheartedly. I do. What I want to see from Trump, and I know it ain't going to happen. I want to see Trump go on vacation. I want Trump to take his ass on vacation. Take a week's vacation, man.
Dwight?
Mr. President, thank you. You just said that these companies would have...
SP says incompetent. There you go, SP. You set me up, SP. What the hell is incompetent? See, there y'all go. There y'all go. Look, boy, y'all just love roasting Shank Rock, don't y'all? You know I can't, man, I'm going to get you, SP. SP set me up, y'all. I'm going to get you, SP.
Security guarantees if they go in on the ground in Venezuela.
They will have.
And what is your plan there actually for these companies and those Americans who are going to be on the ground working for these companies?
Well, there are going to be Americans. I assume they're going to be using a lot of Americans, but they're going to be using a lot of people from Venezuela and other places, I would imagine. But I would think that mostly they'll be using Venezuelan workers. They have a lot of great workers. They have a very high unemployment rate, and they have workers that are very familiar with taking oil out of the ground. Yeah.
How long do you think the Ayatollah will be in power after what we've seen play out on the ground there? When is the U.S. going to get involved now that reports of protesters being killed on the ground?
So Iran's in big trouble. It looks to me that the people are taking over certain cities that nobody thought were really possible.
All right, y'all, let's chop it up. I'm going to take some comments from y'all, and then we're going to get out of here. TT says, I need to take a permanent vacation downstairs and never come back. Y'all hit me with some comments and questions, and then we're going to get out of here. I appreciate everybody for pulling up. We are 37 likes away from 100. We got 100. We got 235 watching. Double tap that screen, y'all. It's very important, and I'll tell y'all why it's very important for the like button, because YouTube functions a certain way. And in order for the demonstration, in order for your video to get into YouTube's algorithm, they go by the likes. All right. Angela says, look at him looking down. Someone is telling him what to say. TT says, he, not me. So come on, y'all. Double tap the screen for Shank Rock and get them likes up to help push it out into the algorithm. Also, if you would like to support the channel with a donation, my Cash App is $ERICMCINT. Also, if you would like to help with a super sticker or a super chat or purchasing a membership, just click on the $ symbol. Leslie says, you need to drop that 30%. Trump is horrible. You mean I need to drop the 70%? I need to drop the 70% because remember, 70% I agree with Trump. 30% I disagree. So now I might have to drop that 70%. You know, because I'm not feeling it, man. Certain things that Trump do, I be like this. I be like, yeah, yeah. But then other things that he do, I be like, nah, man, nah. Come on, bring it in. So I will be going live later on at 10 p.m. Eastern time. I do have a Naziah Harris demonstration, y'all. And it's about Jarvis Butts. Y'all are not going to want to miss tonight's Naziah Harris demonstration at 10 p.m. TT says he's definitely not intellectually there you go, TT. Compotent. Cool. I ain't fooling with y'all in these words. Stephanie says, I don't know how you still stuck at 30, Shank. I know, Stephanie. I know. You mean 70. 70. Y'all leave me alone. Y'all set me up with these words. TT and SP think they slick. Y'all ain't slick. Y'all setting me up. Stop setting me up, TT and SP. TT says, the man got stuck at... I ain't entertaining you, TT. I won't be reading no more comments from SP or TT. Leslie says, drop it. He is horrible. I mean, I have to do a reevaluation of the 70% of Trump that I agree with. I'll say that. The 70% that I agree with Trump, I'll reevaluate that. All right. Angela says he got to make you laugh, son. Now I laugh. Look.